Hello everyone. So I'm back. I took a little break and didn't upload last week. And that's because life in general is a little stressful for me right now. I don't want to go into like a bunch of detail about this because I just want to focus on making the video because I really enjoy these. I work in retail, and if anybody out there also works in retail, you know that everyone is struggling to keep a full team of coworkers and peers, and my job and my team were no different. We're struggling a lot, so I'm in a higher management role, or kind of. I don't know what you would consider me. I don't want to delve into it. I just don't want to open up about it too much on this channel. Just know that I'm working a lot more than normal. It's gonna be a little exhausting. And I do have this big Twilight Zone project that I've been working on, and I really want to prioritize that. But I did want to come and, post something. I don't want to miss too many weeks. But I may end up having to take another break closer to July. I will deal with that later. If you don't follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I post not a ton on either site, but I share a lot of horror related things on Twitter. I think I'm more active on Twitter right now. I post a lot more personal things on Instagram, but if you care, or if you want to keep up with just the latest with me, or if I'm going to be posting on a certain week, I will be posting it on both of those, and I'll have my links to those social medias down in the description. But that being said, we have a video now. And I want to jump in. As you can tell by the title, this is a little bit different. I kind of wanted to keep this video light and fun. I mean, all of my videos are light and fun for me to make, but I just realized I've never really broken away from the horror theme yet. So I want to just kind of throw it off tracks a little bit, and this video is going to be 7 of my favorite non-horror movies. And they are in no particular order. I hate making specific lists, going from 1 to 10, because my mood fluctuates so much about how I feel about certain movies. And these movies are no different. They all hold very special sentimental value to me. They stand out in my mind probably because of the part of my life that I watched them in. You'll notice a lot of these are in the early 2000s, when I was a teenager, ones that are very genre specific. So anyway, let's just jump into it. I'm excited to talk about these. So starting with the first movie, it's A Knight's Tale from 2001, directed by Brian Hageland, sorry. Peasant-born William Thatcher begins a quest to change his stars, win the heart of an exceedingly fair maiden, and rock his medieval world. With the help of friends, he faces the ultimate test with tournament jousting and tries to discover if he has the mettle to become a legend. And I remember watching this movie on VHS over and over. There was one point in my young life when I could recite this entire movie from memory. I don't know if that's a flex or not, but whatever. But I remember very specifically falling in love with Heath Ledger because of this movie and his role. It was just so inspirational, and it was so funny. I'm probably gonna say his last name wrong, but Alan Tudyk, the red-haired guy who plays the really funny character. Oh my god, he just cracked me up. I would rewind and play certain parts over and over, and me and my brother would just laugh until we cried. This movie is such a nostalgia gem for me. I still have the VHS copy of it in my collection. Hold it near and dear to my heart. And this movie sparked my love for Paul Bettany. My god, that man. I do want to say though, after going back and watching it a few times in my adult life, I can say that it is not very time period accurate. It is very much it's not a teen movie, but they made it for younger people. It's a comedy, romance, comedy, action, kind of action, not really a lot of medieval action. But it's a great movie. If you've never watched it, or if you really love Heath Ledger and it's on your list, do yourself a favor, sit down with a friend or a partner and to put it on, eat some popcorn, some snacks, and just like have a good laugh together. This movie is amazing. The next one on my list is Finding Neverland from 2004, directed by Mark Forster. This charming account of a period in the life of author J.M. Barrie reveals the real relationships and events that served as the basis for the author's most iconic work, Peter Pan. After Barrie develops a platonic relationship with the widowed Sylvia and her 4 sons, he is inspired to write a play about a group of children who don't want to grow up. The work proves a hit and winds up bringing Barrie and the children together in a way he had never expected. This movie is so emotionally pulling for me. Every single time I watch it, I cry. There's a very specific scene where Johnny Depp's character, the main guy, J.M. Barrie, him and Dustin Hoffman's character are standing under a bridge, and it's like you can see the backdrop. It's like the city or like a street. It's really colorful, really vibrant, and it's like a normal shot. Like there's like blacked out silhouettes under the bridge. And I remember in junior high or whenever I was in school when I watched this, like I drew that scene and I painted it for an assignment in my art class because this movie just really stuck with me. Like it made me start to appreciate like period pieces. I rewatched this movie a lot. It wasn't as bad as A Knight's Tale where like I knew all the words or anything, but like that also sparked kind of like a love for Johnny Depp. It didn't spark it, but like I just went into this movie feeling all warm and fuzzy, and the ending still makes me really emotional. It's one of the only movies that like I will cry every single time I watch it. You can ask anybody that knows me in real life. I cry a lot for like any reason. Like I could cry watching a TikTok video or like a random YouTube video. And with movies, it's no different. I cried in like all of the Marvel movies, and every single movie that has just like a slight emotional like swell, oh my god, just brings me to tears. But this movie, I will be crying like halfway through it and just like until the ending. It's just so good. God, the scene where Barrie creates this like magical world for Sylvia, oh my god. Like, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. In fact, I want to rewatch that movie really bad. I might do that in a couple days, but so yeah, that movie, it's just romantic, emotional, just pulls at my heart, and I definitely recommend it if you like kind of sappy films. The next one on this list is Batman Returns from 1992, directed by Tim Burton. The monstrous penguin who lives in the sewers beneath Gotham joins up with a wicked shock-headed businessman, Max Schreck, to topple the Batman once and for all. But when Schreck's timid assistant, Selina Kyle, finds out and Schreck tries to kill her, she is transformed into the sexy Catwoman. She teams up with the Penguin and Schreck to destroy Batman, but sparks fly unexpectedly when she confronts the Caped Crusader. Man, the Tim Burton Batman movies are my all-time favorites. This is my favorite Batman movie of all time. You know, as new ones come out, I always put them into consideration, but I wasn't a huge fan of Christopher Nolan's choice of making it all very like realistic. I thought Heath Ledger as the Joker was perfect. You know, I can respect them for what they are, but compared to other Batman films, they are not my favorite. Recently, my local Cinemark was showing like older films for like only $5 as kind of like a way to keep business coming. And you know, they were being really safe and everything, and I would go during times where like no one else was in the theater, like trying to be as safe as possible. And I remember them playing this, and I got to see it in theaters, which was like the movie theaters doing that, like showing older movies. I got to see the original Alien in theaters. Like I just love going to the movies. It's one of my favorite things to do. If I could afford it, I would go several times a week. And if, you know, enough movies were out that I wanted to see. Seeing that movie in theaters, oh my god, just that epic scene where Michael Keaton is like, it's at the beginning where he's like sitting in his study and he's all deep and brooding, hand under his chin, and you see the bat symbol. I'll put a still in here. Seeing him like, oh my god, that whole scene is like one of my favorite scenes in cinema history ever. In fact, I would love to have that as like a print on my wall. But anyway, yes, like I'm a big fan of Batman, and later on during the life of this channel, I'll go into that. All you need to know is I love the Catwoman rendition. I love Michelle Pfeiffer. Danny DeVito is a legend. No other rendition of the Penguin will fit the spooky, weird vibe that Danny DeVito put off in this movie. I know Tim Burton, especially now, is kind of like not super great or like not a super popular director, but you know, back in the 90s, you know, when he was pumping out shit and discovering Batman Returns, it just set a fire in my soul for Batman in general. So that's why it holds a very special place in my heart. Plus, it's like a classic Christmas movie. You might see this movie on a list later for Christmas, like my favorite like Christmas movies to watch. So we'll see, you know, when that time comes. Next one is Summer Wars from 2009, directed by Mamoru Hosoda. Sorry about the pronunciation. Kenji is your typical teenage misfit. He's good at math, bad with girls, and spends most of his time hanging out in the all-powerful online community known as Oz. His second life is the only life he has until the girl of his dreams, Natsuki, hijacks him for a starring role as a fake fiancé at her family reunion. Things only get strange from there. A late-night email containing a cryptic mathematical riddle leads to the unleashing of a rogue AI intent on using the virtual world of Oz to destroy the real world. As Armageddon looms on the horizon, Kenji and his new family set aside their differences and band together to save the worlds they inhabit in this area, in this near-perfect blend of social satire and science fiction. I'm fairly certain that this movie is based on like a manga or a book of some kind. I've never read the original material, I've only seen the movie, but when I first saw this, it was whenever I was like kind of branching out from anime to like animated or like anime films. This is another one that's like very emotionally pulling, but it's also like high stakes, it's funny, it's a beautiful portrayal of like family banding together and like putting, I mean, exactly what the description says, like putting aside like any kind of like qualms or differences, and you see them like fight a lot, and you like all of the family members are so unique and there's so many of them. This movie touches just enough on each one for you to understand their character and to become like emotionally invested in all of them as like a unit and as individuals. Man, this movie is just superior cinema. Like if you like, I don't know, if you're not a big fan of like animated films or like anime in general, I would try to put aside that and just give this a watch because it deserves all of the stars, all of the high ranks. Like if you need a good feel-good movie that'll have you laughing and crying it by the end and also like cheering and hooping and hollering, like this is definitely it. The ending is one of my favorite endings in like movie history. Like they just, this movie is so good. Also a little fun summer flick. I know it's in the name, Summer Wars, but they do a really good job with like the art and the sound and like all of it, like to kind of portray summertime in Japan. I mean, I've never been to Japan ever. I would assume that that is fairly accurate, and you just like feel hot watching it because of all the details. So the fifth movie on this list is Alice in Wonderland from 1951, directed by Wilfred Jackson. In this Disney rendition of the storybook classic, on a golden afternoon, young Alice follows a white rabbit who disappears down a nearby rabbit hole. Quickly following him, she tumbles into the burrow and enters the merry, topsy-turvy world of Wonderland. Memorable songs and whimsical escapades highlight Alice's journey, which culminates into a madcap encounter with the Queen of Hearts and her army of playing cards. I mean, if you don't know what Alice in Wonderland is, sucks to suck, but like do a quick Google search. It's one of the most popular like classic storybook tales ever. A lot of the characters are very like recognizable. Alice in Wonderland and like the stories of Alice in Wonderland through the Looking Glass, all that stuff, like Lewis Carroll's creation has influenced so much media in the world, and this is like one of my favorite classic tales of all time. This is my favorite like animated Disney film of all time also. A lot of the newer ones kind of give it a run for its money, but this one still holds true, mainly because of nostalgia. My favorite Disney song of all time is the song, I think it's called In a World of My Own. It's like one of the first songs that plays. She's not even in Wonderland yet. I can sing that song, I know the words by heart. I will listen to that when I'm just like, it's a good like play it in the morning, wake you up song. I know that this movie isn't an accurate portrayal of like, you know, the first Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, because like there are characters that are in the story that aren't in the original and some that aren't, they don't show up until like the Looking Glass, but it doesn't matter. This movie is immaculate and perfect in every way to me. I love the animation. I love the colors. This one is solely on this list because of just like young Katie watching this as a child, falling in love with like the singing flowers and the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter. Like the whole Mad Hatter scene, I would like crack up when I was a kid. I just love Alice in Wonderland. Anything like I even love like the darker takes on Alice in Wonderland that have come out like throughout the years, but this will always hold true as like my favorite rendition. Next movie is 10 Things I Hate About You from 1999, directed by Gil Junger. On the first day of his new school, Cameron instantly falls for Bianca, the gorgeous girl of his dreams. The only problem is that Bianca is forbidden to date until her ill-tempered, completely undateable older sister Kat goes out too. In an attempt to solve his problem, Cameron singles out the only guy who could possibly be a match for Kat, a mysterious bad boy with a nasty reputation of his own. And of course, the nasty bad boy is played by Heath Ledger. 2 actors from A Knight's Tale are featured in this list again in separate movies. But this movie, man, I rewatched it over and over. It's definitely a comfort movie for me. It's a stereotypical like teen movie. Kat is like this like feminist, punk kind of, just like she's like the cool girl, very like inspired by like grunge era, and she doesn't give a shit about anyone's opinion. And Bianca's like the typical like younger teen girl who is just trying to fit in and dates boys and, you know, dresses all preppy and whatever. This is just a feel-good movie for me. The comedy's great, Heath Ledger is gorgeous, and I hold this movie really near to my heart. In fact, when I got the news years ago when Heath Ledger passed away, this movie was the one that I picked to watch as kind of like a comfort. I picked it over A Knight's Tale, which is, I think A Knight's Tale is my favorite Heath Ledger film. If you like a little bit of teen drama, please give this a watch. And the last movie on my list is a weird one. It's Risk Cutters, A Love Story from 2006, directed by Goran Dukic. Again, sorry. Zia, distraught over breaking up with his girlfriend, decides to end it all. Unfortunately, he discovers that there is no real ending, only a rundown afterlife that is strikingly similar to his old one, just a bit worse. Discovering that his ex-girlfriend has also offed herself, he sets out on a road trip with his Russian rocker friend to find her. Their journey takes them through an absurd purgatory where they discover that being dead doesn't mean you have to stop living. The actress Shannon Sossamon, she plays like the love interest in A Knight's Tale. She's so gorgeous. She plays Jocelyn. And in this movie, she's also like the love interest, and I'm just obsessed with her. She's such a beautiful woman. But this movie is so special. Like, it's kind of a fucked up take to think that if you kill yourself and like purgatory is just you living the same life, like you can't escape it. But this movie, it was just so unique, and this is the movie that I got introduced to the band Gogol Bordello. I believe they do the music for they do like the soundtrack to the movie. And like the Russian rocker guy, he is just comedy gold. He is hilarious. There's like a scene where he's telling the girl, a person who sits in the back seat of a car has no cock because he's sitting in the back seat. And she's all like, I've got a cock, big fat one.
I'm not sitting in the back. Why not? Because everybody knows guy in the back seat doesn't have a cock.
What?
That's a fact. If the guy in the back seat had the cock, he wouldn't be back there in the first place.
Well, I mean, I got a cock, man, so I'm not... Do you have a cock?
Yeah, I have a cock.
Well,
big fat one.
And like that just, it just slays me every time. This is definitely more, I don't want to say it's triggering, but you do see like a little bit of like implied violence, or like you see like how people kill themselves. So if like mentions of suicide or kind of like lightly touching on it bothers you, I would maybe skip it. Watch some clips, see how you feel. But this is another one that's like, if you're feeling kind of sad, not like spiraling, but, or like a depressive episode, but like if you're just kind of like down and you're putting on like a good movie, this is a feel-good movie for me, which is weird, I know. It's just such a like sweet story, and like the ending is really sweet, and just everything about this movie is amazing, and I haven't watched it in a really long time. I don't even know if I think I own it, so hopefully I'll go check that and see if I need to go get it. But yes, so if you've ever wondered what some movies that I enjoy outside of horror are, here's a good place to start. I'd like to maybe make another list. I do plan on maybe making another video for like franchise movies, like ones that have like a lot of sequels, like hero movies, fantasy movies, whatever, later on down the road. If that's something that you'd like to, watch, let me know in the comments. Have you seen any of these movies? What do you think of them? I obviously highly recommend all of these movies. If you do watch one based on this video, let me know what you thought. And what are some of your feel-good non-horror movies? I'd love to know. And hopefully moving forward, I'll be able to get out some videos more regularly again. If you're interested at all in knowing if I'm going to be posting or not, please go follow my Twitter or my Instagram. And that's where I'm going to draw an end for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.